Just months after their murder, Smith was accused of shooting Murdaugh on the side of the road. Murdaugh later admitted he had actually staged the whole thing, so his surviving son, Buster, could collect $10 million in life insurance. Here with us now to break this newest information down, legal analyst and trial attorney Misty Maris. Misty, great to talk to you again. What is your initial reaction to these new claims from Curtis Smith? I mean, we hear it right there from his own mouth.
Absolutely. And what I keep thinking is that with every new documentary that we hear about the Murdaugh case, we learn new facts. And it almost seems unbelievable because we all sat here and watched every minute of that trial. So how can there continue to be twists? But one thing I will say, when Curtis Cousin Eddie Smith made these statements, I found it interesting because if you recall, there was a lot of talk about Cousin Eddie during the trial, but we never heard from him. The prosecutors nor the defense actually called him as a witness, although he did appear on the witness list. So it leads to the conclusion, well, apparently prosecutors, because this would be pretty damaging, right? If this came in, this is tantamount to a confession. Prosecutors likely did not believe that he would be credible because he had a horse in the race, in that he was also charged with the insurance fraud scheme. So maybe there was some self-interest there. But I did find these statements. Wow, imagine we had heard that at trial on top of all of the other evidence that really do tend to point to Murdaugh's guilt. Certainly very moving. But again, a strategy call by prosecutors.
Absolutely. Miss, you said it right there yourself. He had his own horse in this race here. But could this in any way impact the appeal that Murdaugh's attorneys have already filed?
What's very interesting is that this interview itself will not impact the appeal because the appeal is the four corners of the case. It does not go beyond the bounds of the record that was in the courtroom or ultimately any evidentiary hearing regarding that jury tampering allegation. However, let's fast forward. Imagine there is a new trial. Well, there's nothing stopping prosecutors from using these public statements or potentially calling Cousin Eddie to the stand. And maybe with these statements being out there in the public sphere, that would be something they might do if there is another chance to retry this case, if Murdaugh does in fact get that new trial. So absolutely anything out there in the public, Nicole, that is relevant and that is fodder for the courtroom.
All right, so we see how it could impact it if he does get that new trial. But we also know, he has these pending financial crimes cases. Apparently there's some type of plea deal, but could this in any way impact those other charges, these other cases?
For sure, because we know there's a plea deal that relates to the federal charges. So there's all kinds of federal crimes that Murdaugh has now pled guilty to. However, we know that there was just recently a strategy hearing and a scheduling hearing relating to the state law financial crimes. So remember, that's two different courtrooms, and that deals with two different areas of the law. So he's pled guilty on the federal, but he still could potentially face other charges on the state level. And Cousin Eddie could certainly be a part of those cases, especially since he was charged as a co-defendant for some of those. So to the extent that he's cooperating with prosecutors, we could hear this testimony on the stand in furtherance of that case, those state law financial crimes.
All right, and Missy, I have to ask you this because I know that this is a question on a lot of people's minds. At the end of the day, does any of this matter if Alec Murdaugh is serving 2 life sentences and if Alec Murdaugh does not get a new trial?
If he doesn't get a new trial, then he's serving these life sentences. He's never getting out of prison. That's absolutely for sure. So does it matter whether or not he's convicted on the state law financial crimes? Probably not. That plea deal, though, on the federal crimes, that does matter because that means he could serve his time in a federal prison. And for some, there's many who believe from a defense perspective, it is preferable to serve your time in federal prison. And as part of that plea, I'm going to make a prediction. He is going to request certain penitentiaries which are known to be a little less harsh than where he's currently staying.
Well, as always, I love talking to you, Misty Maris. Thank you so much for explaining all of that. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.